Welcome to FPP pattern making with Copytown Quilting Part 2. Part 1 is where we took a picture and then we created the basic outline and the different fragments that would create our FPP pattern overall. The second part, Part 2, now is where we go through and we take each of those fragments and create the FPP piece and then group those FPP pieces to become sections. Sometimes if you have a larger quilt, you would take those sections to become blocks and those blocks to become a quilt. Now, first thing, let's talk about actions. We'll do a deep dive in a later video, but I wanted to do a quick review of what an action is. An action in Illustrator is where you can create your own custom hotkey to go through some repetitive actions that you would do normally in Illustrator just to kind of shorten that process for you. In this case, I've created Shift F2 that will, once I've selected different fragments that I have from my picture, my pattern, group those, create an outline, and then I can go through and create my pattern. Let's show you what's going to happen. As you can see, I've already created a lot of my sections. I've created sections A, B, C, and all the way through H. You can see within section A, this is where I have my pieces A1, A2, A3 that are really combining those fragments into a single piece. We want to do the same thing with this last area, which I have not completed yet, which will be section I. So we can zoom into that. I'll go ahead again, use your direct selection tool, hotkey A, hold down the shift key, and you're going to select the different fragments that would go into a single piece. So I've selected two of the pieces that are going to be in I1, hit F2, it automatically runs through those steps, creates an outline for me along with a group of the pieces. I drag that outline path down into the group and I can rename that I1. Now I'll go to the next piece within this section. Again, use A, select the fragment, hold shift down, select the other fragments within that piece, hit shift F2, and go ahead and then it'll group those, drag down your outline, rename it, so on and so forth through all of the pieces within this section. Now, sometimes you may get some of these pieces that will have really, really small parts. That's fine to expand, enlarge your screen, select those smaller pieces, and then run through the macro as usual. This is also a really good chance for you to double check your pattern to make sure your organization is working, your seams are working, they're all straight, you don't have orphan pieces. It's also a good chance to understand that your numbering in order is working as you expected. Sometimes you may get into a piece and realize that it's not working, and it's totally fine to stop, review that piece or that section, and then continue. Two more pieces to go. We'll finish this section together. As you can see, I select both of my pieces, Shift F2, drag my outline path down into the group that was just created, rename that. Last one. And now I have all of my pieces of section I together. Now I like to, once I've created all of those, I like to reorder them so that I have I1, I2, I3, I4, and so on. And then I'll group that together and rename that group section I. Once we've got all of our sections, the next part is we want to create a section map. You can see for section I, I've already created like a green area. What we want to do is we're going to use the same action that we just used. We're going to go ahead and select the section that you have already created. Hit Shift F2, same action. It's going to create an outline. We'll go to that path that it's created. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to select Fill, choose a solid color, then I'll go down to opacity, change that to 40%, and then rename that to section A. I'm going to do the same thing with section B. Again, hit it, Shift F2, rename that to section B. Then I'm going to go up to the fill. I'm going to select a solid color, and then I'm going to change the opacity to 40%. I'll do this for each of my sections, and then after that, take all of those different section maps, and then I will group those together.